Welcome back to our series on interactive read-alouds. Today we're going to wrap up this 5-part series by talking about different engagement strategies that you can use during your read-aloud. So far we've talked about what is an interactive read-aloud, how to plan one, what books to choose, and different types of questions that we can ask during the lesson. So today we really want to bring that read-aloud to life by engaging all of our students in the reading process. Involving all students in the read-aloud is a must, and making sure that they know that your classroom is a safe place and that their voice can be heard. And by building meaningful conversations, we allow students to participate and interact with each other around books. So today I want to talk about 5 different strategies that will include all of your students in the interactive read-aloud. Those strategies are think aloud, turn and talk, act it out, stop and jot or stop and draw, and hand signals. Let's dive into each one of them. So the think aloud is the easiest one for you to do as the teacher. Basically, what you're going to do is as you are reading, you're going to say what is going on in your mind as the reader. You're going to say it out loud so that your students understand what that inner conversation is in your head. We want students to know that reading is not just a passive experience. That as we're reading, a lot of different thoughts will go through your head. We're going to model for them what we do as readers, how we activate our background knowledge, how we ask questions or even draw conclusions as we're reading through the story. And seeing us model these different things will help students understand what they need to do when they go back to their own independent reading. And you kind of have 2 options here. You can either share all of your inner thinking that goes on while you read a story, or you can focus on a specific skill or strategy that you want students to focus on during that read aloud. So some of the things that you can share during the interactive read aloud are aspects of the inner conversation in your head, such as your thoughts, your reactions, connections that you're making, where you might be confused, or questions that you might have while you're reading. You can also share how you activate your background knowledge, how you merge what you already knew and what you just read and how those are connected. These are all great things to share during a think aloud and can really help students become better readers. The next engagement strategy is called turn and talk. In this, students are going to turn to the peer sitting next to them and talk about and share their thoughts about the book with each other. And this really has multiple purposes. It allows students to process information, enhance their understanding, and really maximize engagement. So as you are reading, prompt your students with a question, and then encourage them to turn and talk to their neighbor about what they think is happening or what their answer to that question might be. This gives all students, not just the really vocal ones, the chance to participate. They're all going to be sharing, even if it's just with one other person, they're all going to be sharing their thoughts or their connections or their ideas with somebody else. It also allows those quieter students to rehearse what they want to say or think before saying it out loud in front of the whole class, and gives them that confidence to share it out loud when prior they may not have done it on their own. So this really engages all the students in your class. Now, when you are planning a turn and talk, and again, as I've mentioned in previous videos, you really want to plan all of this out ahead of time. But when you plan a turn and talk, make sure your students know who they are going to turn and talk to. You may make it random. You may seat specific students next to each other that you want to engage with each other, or certain students maybe not next to each other that might not do so well having a conversation and staying focused on the topic. But by having students know who they're going to turn and talk to and what the protocol is for that, how they're going to stop when you give them the signal and return to the book at hand, that makes it for a much smoother transition and you can get right back to the book. So I recommend planning and practicing that ahead of time before you're in the middle of your interactive read aloud. The third engagement strategy of an interactive read aloud is to act it out. And this is such a fun one for students. It gives them the opportunity to move their body and to respond to in a way that's different than just speaking or just writing. This is a fun, different way to do it in the classroom. So you may ask students how a character is feeling or what they're doing and ask them to act it out. What does it feel like? What does it look like when you are sad? What does it look like when you are excited about something? This really helps students connect with the book on a whole nother level. The fourth engagement strategy is kind of two wrapped into one, a stop and jot or a stop and draw. Basically, what you're going to do is ask students a question about the book that you're reading, and they are going to stop and write down their answer or draw a picture to answer your question. It gives them that time to process it and put it out onto paper. By responding and writing or drawing, we're really promoting retention and comprehension of the book. It takes the students' ideas from up here and puts it out onto paper. This quick check for understanding helps students make sense of what they're thinking. And there are lots of different things that they can jot down, such as the picture they have in their mind, what they're wondering or what they're thinking, a connection that they have to the story. All great ways to bring in the writing and drawing aspect to your interactive read aloud. And again, similar to the turn and talk, I recommend preparing this all ahead of time, making sure students come to the reading area. If, for example, you're all sitting on a rug together, that students have a pencil and some sticky notes or a notebook to write on, and talking with them about where the materials should go, when they should use them, and when they need to be put down. Because all of that can interrupt the story and the flow of the story when you're in the middle of it. But if you practice and talk about it ahead of time, it will go so much smoother. Now, the last engagement strategy I have are hand signals. And this is another great quick check for understanding as you're reading the book aloud. It involves all students and it's fairly low risk, and a great way to check for understanding, and a great way to increase engagement and motivation. So again, you'll ask a question to the students, and it can be a yes or no question. Do you agree or disagree? And they can give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You can ask them questions and they can respond with a give me a 1 if you think this. Give me 2 fingers if you think this. Again, a great way to get all students to participate. It's super quick. And again, low risk for those students who might be a little bit more shy. So those are 5 different types of engagement strategies that you can use during an interactive read aloud. As I've mentioned, you want to be purposeful when planning these ahead of time. You don't want to use too many of these different strategies in one lesson. You don't want to overdo it because then you lose the meaning of the story, students lose focus, and you're not getting across what you need to teach. But by creating a balance between both these engagement strategies and the questions we talked about in last week's video, you're allowing students to process, reflect, and collaborate with their peers on an amazing picture book that you're reading aloud. And this in turn will broaden their understanding of reading and the thinking process. Interactive read alouds are a great teaching tool to use in the classroom. If you want to go back to any of the other videos in this series, I'll leave a link to the whole collection right here, and I will also leave a link in the description box down below because there's some great information to help you get started with interactive read alouds in your classroom. If this video was helpful for you, give it a thumbs up and hit that red subscribe button down below because I'll be back next Sunday night with more read aloud tips and book ideas for you to take into your classroom right away. Have a great week.